Hello and welcome to the channel. Today, we are going to discuss spoilers for the thrilling horror movie titled Sea Fever. Let's get started right away. The movie opens in Ireland at a marine research university. A group of students are celebrating a friend's birthday. However, there's one female doctoral student named Siobhan who is busy with her research in the next room. Her professor comes in to see her and asks her to join the other friends at the party, hoping that she will socialize a bit, but she continues to refuse. She seems to be quite an introvert. Regardless, the professor informs her that she must go on a research tour in the middle of the sea with a group of strangers on a ship, in order to study and explore deep-sea life. He hopes that this will provide her with real-world experience and the chance to make new friends. After hearing this, Siobhan is not too keen on going, but the professor insists, so she has to go there. The scene switches to morning. Siobhan travels to meet Johnny, one of the crew members. She doesn't seem too enthusiastic about going. The ship, called Niam Sinoir, is a trawler. Johnny introduces her to his aunt named Sierra. Once on board, she is introduced to Gerard, the ship's owner, and his wife, Freya. Gerard goes down to the engine room to meet Omid, the ship's engineer, and Sudi. Their conversation reveals that Gerard is facing some financial difficulties at the moment. He is asked to delay payment to Omid, promising to pay once they reach the shore. If they can't catch and sell a large number of sea creatures this time, the operation of the ship will likely have to end. Freya asks Siobhan about her job. Siobhan replies that she studies the behavior of marine animals, developing algorithms on a computer to predict the outcomes of various ecological systems. What she has to do on the ship includes taking photos of the fish capture, observing for anomalies in various ecosystems, and she can also dive. On the ship's deck, Siobhan takes off her hat and jacket. Johnny introduces her to Sudi. Upon seeing her, Sudi exclaims as if he's just had a bad omen. Gerard tells Freya about Siobhan's red hair, letting us know that some fishermen believe if someone with red hair boards the ship, it will bring bad luck to the people on the ship. He discusses with Freya the idea of asking Siobhan to leave the ship, but they can't, as Freya mentions that they have already spent all the money given by the university for her. Siobhan admits she was unaware of such a superstition, but she can't change her natural red hair. Johnny suggests that she could wear a hat to cover it. Seeing no other options, Gerard decides to proceed and orders the ship to set sail. Johnny shows Siobhan around the various rooms in the ship. They discover that there are only 4 beds but 6 people on board. He explains that they will have to split into 2 shifts, 3 people sleeping while 3 others work, with only 2-hour rest periods in between. After hearing this, Siobhan expresses concern about the potential psychological effects, or what's known as sea fever, that could result from such a small amount of sleep. Johnny acknowledges that this could happen but admits that they currently have no better arrangement. The scene shifts to Gerard and Freya praying together. They both open a locket they wear around their necks, which contains a picture of their daughter. At the front of the ship, there is a doll-like figure representing their daughter. The ship then sets off into the vast ocean. Johnny takes Siobhan down to the engine room, where she meets Omid, the person in charge of the place. She is quite impressed with the ship's water filtration system, which Omid designed himself. She wonders why he hasn't easily found a better job given his skills. The shore patrol contacts the ship, informing them that the area where they plan to fish is currently off limits due to the presence of whales and other nursing mammals. This prevents them from fishing as planned. Freya, having heard this, is helpless but to comply with the shore patrol's directives. However, it appears that Gerard is mulling something over in his mind. The ship continues to float along its preset course. Everyone on the ship has dinner together in the evening and invites Siobhan to join them, but she declines and goes to eat alone on her bed. She spends her time reading alone during her late-night watch. Freya comes up to chat with her and shows her the beauty of the plankton glowing at night. The scene shifts to the next morning. Freya spots a whale swimming alongside the ship. Gerard notifies everyone to come and look at the whale. Siobhan finds it strange, as the whale is unlikely to be in this region. Suddenly, Gerard notices that the radar has picked up a fast-moving lifeform heading straight towards them. Then, the ship hits something, shaking the entire vessel. The ship's radio falls and gets damaged. Gerard asks Omid about the situation below, but Omid tells him to call Siobhan down to the engine room. When she comes downstairs, he tells her that the impact has somehow changed the condition of the ship's wooden wall. Upon closer inspection, several round marks appear with something resembling leakage holes and a substance is oozing out. Freya can't move the ship, as if it's stuck to something. Looking at the map, she realizes they are in a prohibited area. She immediately knows it was Gerard who secretly brought the ship into this zone. The marks on the ship continue to seep out more of the liquid. Siobhan touches it and finds that it is a blue-green mucus substance. Freya is upset with Gerard for defying the Coast Guard's orders and sailing into a prohibited area because something could happen there. Siobhan uses a culture plate to collect a sample for examination. Gerard comes down to the engine room, touches, and pulls at the affected area, finding that it has been transformed into a mushy paper-like substance. When he pulls it off, there seems to be some life form attached. She suggests that it could be a species related to sea sponges. Gerard asks her to dive down and cut it off the ship. She is quite worried because it could be anything, but he tells her, isn't she here to investigate anomalies in the sea? The scene cuts to Siobhan putting on her diving gear. Gerard hands her a knife. She takes a moment to decide, then dives into the sea. Once underwater, she finds that what stuck to the ship appears to be the bioluminescent tentacles of some kind of creature. She begins to carefully cut off the tentacles. Omid, who is on the ship, realizes that if they pull it off, it will definitely leave a hole in the ship, so he knocks to signal her. She swims back, and some of the tentacles float up behind her. She turns around to see the tentacle opening its mouth, ready to bite her, but she manages to dodge just in time. Looking down, she sees a large bioluminescent creature that looks incredibly intimidating. Siobhan emerges from the sea. She tells everyone that it's a large creature with tentacles similar to a squid, but it's not a squid. Its tentacles are gripping the ship at multiple points, causing the ship to stand still, and it looks very scary. Gerard, after listening to her, becomes excited, thinking it could be a giant squid. If caught, it would certainly bring a lot of money. He orders everyone on the ship to be alert and throws a large net down to catch the creature. But considering the creature's weight, it seems beyond the capacity of the ship. He decides to let it go and retrieves the net. While pulling the net back, Johnny's hand accidentally gets caught in the pulling device. Omid rushes to help him. Johnny falls down, his hand bleeding profusely. The large creature continues to hold onto the ship. Siobhan notices Johnny's wallet lying around. When she picks it up, she finds green mucus mixed with his blood. Suddenly, she notices something and runs to tell Gerard that there's a ship nearby. He looks through the binoculars and sees a ship in the distance. The ship fires a flare immediately asking for help, but there's no response from it. They decide to use a small boat to get to that ship and ask for help. Siobhan, Johnny, and Gerard all volunteer to go ask for help from that ship. Freya watches from afar through the binoculars. The creature under the water continues to grip their ship. The engineers try to cover the dissolved surface with wooden planks, but mucus is still seeping into other places on the ship. The three of them arrive at the other ship, but there's no sign of anyone on board. The ship's radio is damaged. The three of them open the door to the ship's passenger compartment. They shout down, but there's no response. Everyone climbs down and looks around with flashlights. They find the bodies of 3 dead crew members, which seem to have inflicted harm upon themselves. Gerard suspects it could be sea fever, but Siobhan thinks there must be something more going on. Gerard orders everyone to keep this a secret and not to tell anyone yet, fearing it would frighten everyone. The scene cuts back to the ship. Omid notices that the wall of the ship no longer has mucus coming out. The three of them return to their ship. Omid tells them that the creature has released their ship. Siobhan talks to Omid. She doesn't feel too comfortable, as it's unusual behavior for an animal to release its prey so easily. The liquid might be toxic or something we don't know yet, but he doesn't seem too concerned about what she thinks. The radar picked up a group of large living things. Gerard wanted to try casting the net again, but Freya disagreed, fearing the boat would sink. But he told her if they returned empty-handed, they'd have to sell the boat. So, she decided to order the net to be cast. Everyone on the boat was extremely anxious. When they pulled up the net, they caught a huge number of fish. Everyone on the boat was overjoyed, but the net was also filled with the mucus from the living things. Everyone sat down to eat together. This time, Siobhan also joined them for dinner. She tapped Johnny because she felt he was feverish, but he told her he was fine. As everyone was happily chatting, Johnny whispered to her, "Let's go swimming in the sea." Having said this, he got up immediately. Sudi overheard and asked, "What did Johnny say?" Siobhan told them Johnny was inviting them to swim in the sea. Everyone fell silent. Freya shouted for everyone to stop him immediately. Johnny, preparing to jump into the sea, was stopped by everyone and brought back to the dinner table. Siobhan wondered if he might be infected with the mucus, causing his strange behavior. She asked to examine his eyes with a flashlight, and seemed to see something moving in his eyes. Gerard also tried to look but found nothing. He then ordered Johnny to go to bed. Johnny washed his face at the sink. He seemed to be in pain, and said he couldn't see. Suddenly, his eyes burst, releasing a flood of tiny living creatures, and now they've made their way into the boat's water system. He screamed in pain, and ultimately died, startling everyone on the boat. Siobhan gathered everyone to listen to her. She explained that Johnny's death was caused by parasites in his eyes, which are now in the boat's water system. Freya said she would shut down the system immediately. Omid ran to the bathroom and told Sudi to turn off the shower immediately, but he didn't take it seriously, thinking it was a prank, and it seemed that the parasite had already infected him. Both of them decided to break into the bathroom, and found Sudi sitting on the floor with blood scattered around the bathroom. The crew brought Johnny's body for storage. Siobhan cried over his departure. Everyone looked into the ship's water filtration system. They found that the creatures had entered the system and bitten the filter. Siobhan believed these parasites came from the large creature they initially encountered. Both of them ran to check the water tank. She put on gloves and slowly opened the tank, only to see the larvae in the mucus trying to escape. So, they quickly closed the tank. Everyone argued at the dining table, because there was no way to deal with the drinking water now. Siobhan said these larvae are sea animals. They probably won't survive in fresh water for long. In a few hours, they should all die. After some time, Omid and Siobhan tried to open the water tank again. They found that the larvae were still there and had also damaged the water filter in the tank. Omid was worried that soon they would bite through the tank. Everyone prayed for Johnny. Gerard told Omid to speed up the boat to reach the shore as quickly as possible. Siobhan saw Omid climbing the stairs. She noticed that his boot had some parasite mucus. She quickly ran to get equipment to examine the sample she had collected. Under the microscope, she found it was full of parasite larvae. She ran to explain to everyone that these pathogens enter the body through wounds. Everyone now is at risk of being infected unless we kill these pathogens. She asked Omid to invent a UV light to try and kill them. So, he made a small UV light for a test, but when they tried it, they found it ineffective. The pathogens were still alive. She asked how much longer until they reached shore. He said, another 30 hours until we arrive, which is too long. Everyone on the boat may not survive. Siobhan proposed a crazy plan. To kill all the pathogens, they would have to shock the entire boat with electricity, and everyone would have to wear rubber shoes to protect from the shock. They would also insulate all the engines and motors. Freya disagreed because it could cause a fire on the boat, but Siobhan said they must choose between risking the boat or risking their lives. Freya had no choice but to comply. Everyone doused the ship with seawater to dampen all areas. Freya signaled to begin. Everyone started to electrify the boat. Sudi's condition progressively worsened. Once they had finished, Freya asked Siobhan if it worked. She confirmed it had worked, and said that they all must quarantine for 36 hours after this, or else they risk spreading the pathogen to others. But Freya disagreed because as soon as they reached shore, they must rush Sudi to the hospital as fast as possible. Not long after, Sudi died. Siobhan went to talk to Gerard, but was met with criticism, because no one cared about the quarantine she proposed. So, she went to the stern of the boat, and threw a rope into the sea. The rope got sucked into the ship's propeller, causing the ship to stall and stop in the middle of the sea. Omid brought her to everyone, and she confessed to everyone that she was the one who caused it to stop. Sierra, furious, punched Siobhan in the face. Siobhan said that they could scold her all they wanted, but what she did was for everyone's families. They needed to make sure they weren't infected, because otherwise, once they returned to land and met their families, everyone around them would not survive. Gerard, who was listening, felt that what she said made sense. Gerard had a conversation with Freya. He apologized for his mistakes. If he hadn't brought everyone into this restricted zone, this wouldn't have happened. Freya asked Siobhan to check everyone on the boat. Siobhan used a flashlight to examine Omid's eyes, which appeared normal. Omid did the same to her. She was normal. She examined Sierra, who was normal. She examined Freya, who was normal. But when Freya examined Gerard, they found he was infected. He yelled in anger, and apologized to everyone, saying it was his fault that he brought everyone into this restricted area. Omid and Sierra were furious at him. Sierra came to apologize to Siobhan, and then suddenly attempted to harm her. Siobhan ran to escape, climbing up the stairs, but Sierra grabbed her leg, so she had to shake off Sierra, causing her to fall and die. Omid rushed over and saw the pathogen coming out of her eye. He quickly stepped on it to kill it. Gerard asked Freya to help him pass on without pain. Siobhan ran to find Freya, only to find that Gerard had already passed away. Freya decides to leave the small boat, not caring about its fate. This leaves Siobhan and Omid on the boat. Together, they gather everyone's bodies in one place. A loud noise is heard from the boat. When they check the water tank, they discover a loud noise as if something is banging inside. She suggests that it must be living in the freshwater, and probably growing by cannibalism. The creature inside must be huge now. She thinks they need to use heat to boil the water tank. It might go back to where it came from. Omid lights a fire on the water tank. They open it again to see multiple tentacles shooting out. Omid tries to stab it with a knife, but loses his footing and falls. They look again and see the creature's tentacles have retreated and disappeared. They pack various things into their bags, douse the boat in oil and decide to burn the boat. Siobhan climbs down to the lifeboat and shouts for Omid to follow. He descends via the rope ladder but slips and falls into the sea. He says he can't swim. Siobhan decides to jump into the water to help. As she dives, she finds the creature's tentacles filling the water beneath. They both manage to surface, but she discovers an infected wound on her wrist. Siobhan knows she won't survive. They cry together. She stands up and decides to dive into the sea. She swims through many glowing tentacles to reach the creature's body. After a while, Omid sees a lot of light reflecting on the sea's surface. It looks like the remnants of the tentacles. It seems Siobhan sacrificed herself to do something, and she managed to defeat it. He sees a boat in the distance. Omid is the only survivor of this incident. The movie ends. Feel free to comment politely below, and don't forget to press like, subscribe, share, and hit the bell, so you won't miss other movie spoilers from us. I will definitely bring new and strange movies to spoil for our viewing pleasure continuously. Thank you sincerely to everyone who watched, and see you again.